Hey guys, so a few of us were at Ryan aka Ruggles' house again to do some Yu-Gi-Oh testing, and today I actually have a mirror match of Ishizu against the one and only Gabe Vargas, who of course is an incredibly good player. Now this match is not really a real match in the sense that we're just trying to play optimally, so we did take back a lot of plays and kind of figure things out, and we also had our friend Drew on the side also giving his input as well. And so of course Ishizu Tear, a very strong deck. I think it's a deck that I played for like a little over 2 weeks now, I would say, and I definitely have a lot to learn still. I'm definitely making a lot of misplays even now, but you do have to keep playing to learn. So we're gonna start with Gabe playing Instant Fusion. Really not sure how that card is not banned. He of course does get Kit, which works out really well. Really can add you any tier card. And so he's going to add the Sulik, which is essentially like a permanent monster negate, which is really strong. And on top of that, you can it can enable you to make your fusion plays as well. And so now he also has the planet, which is a really strong, probably something that will get limited, just like in the OCG. It will probably happen at some point for us as well. The field spell just kind of does everything, really. I mean, search, attack boost, as well as the pop, really strong. So he's going to add that Merly. And then I guess he was saying that he'll just try to freestyle it. We're both trying to learn how to play well in the mirror. Definitely a lot to learn. Of course, Gabe's a really good player. And so my friend Drew here is also showing me like, okay, this is where we Kelbeck, because the cards from the opponent's deck, they go to the grave, or if it went from the hand to the grave, that also works as well. Kelbeck bounce on the Kit is actually quite strong. On his 3 mills, he does have the Hovness as well as the Scream. And so the Scream is going to add just to his second Sulik, which essentially can still serve as something like a discard for when you eventually hit Rhino, and then the Sulik can like get you a monster, for example. And for those of you wondering and not familiar with Ishizu Tears, the Scream adds the trap when it's sent to the grave. So Scream, and then the Heartbeat is the other one where it can add a trap that's in the grave back to your hand. So he's going to use the Hovness fusion. He also has that Druid's Worm that he used. It's kind of like his only materials in grave. He does go for the Mud Dragon play, which essentially in the mirror, gives you a way to make Dweller, which is very strong, of course. Another card that's potential for ban, but I think, in the mirror, the Dweller is, you would consider ban worthy, but I do think it's still technically needed for the other non-tier decks to be able to combat against tier. So definitely I'm open to either way. He's gonna summon the Keldo as well. And fun fact, I recently just realized that Keldo can actually add Keldo as well. So fun things to know. And so he's going to get the Kelbeck himself. And so as you can see, Kelbeck can be quite strong with that bounce effect. Pretty sneaky good, but for the most part, you're kind of using it for mills. But of course, in a mirror match, you probably aren't using its mill effect too much unless you're kind of desperate. Well, I guess Gabe is going to use the mill 5 effect. I think he has shufflers though, so he was a little safe. I'm trying to see the mills here. I do hit the shufflers myself, and Gabe does hit a name, at least I think. Apologies for the lack of clarity on the screen for Gabe's graveyard. And so we're gonna mill another 5. I can't remember if it was my Kelbeck or if he hit a Agito. I think he hit the Agito, and then so now he also hits Merly Hovness. And so yeah, it's a bit of a crazy sequence here, because we were just trying to taking back a lot of things just to make sure what the best option is. For example, like here, I'm trying to think whether I use Rhino and the Hovness or just use Rhino, because he does have the shufflers, and even if he just used one, he would be forced to use them. So I'm using personally Rhino and Sulik. And the Sulik, of course, adds a monster. He's going to use his Medora and then just shuffle back. Again, apologies for the random cuts here. It was kind of hard because we were taking back plays and then just trying to put them in the same area that they were, at least trying our best for the sake of this video, but it did get a little bit difficult. But we do add the Hovness off the Sulik, and the Kelbeck does get bounced because of Gabe's Kelbeck that he used himself, which we did see him add with using Keldo. So now he does have the rank 4 plays available for the Dweller, and then we're also going to mill another 5. Again, I can't keep track at this point, either my Kelbeck or his. But he, for me, I hit another Rhino, which I've already used. I do have the Sharon there, it looks like. And I don't think Gabe uses anything, actually. And actually, he is using... Oh, but I'm trying to use the Sharon. So that's why he's banishing his Keldo. And then I'm now using my Keldo to banish back, or return rather. Just putting his orange. I'm putting the Terraforming another card, and then the Hovness, as well as then the Sharon is being put back because that's what Gabe targeted himself. And so, yeah, something that we did think about was I originally had Keldo the first time, but I didn't use it because we were about to mill another 5, and so that if we hit it, that's when it would be most efficient. So we let that original first Keldo to get shuffled back, and it did kind of work out in a way. So yeah, it's just definitely some things I need to work on, and definitely feel free to comment on what we could have done differently. I think just when it comes to the mirror and just knowing when to use the shufflers and or any of the tier names for that matter, and whether to just save it or not. So now we're entering draw phase. Of course, he's going to use the Dweller, and keep in mind, because of that Mud Dragon, it is a water monster, so that means Dweller is actually at 2200 attack right now. So definitely pretty strong actually. This is a huge misplay. I don't know why I activated Scream, and you'll see later. And I mean, obviously, it's pretty clear right now even that it was useless. Definitely something I should have thought a little bit more before I used it. Originally, I was like, well, if it goes to grave, I can use it to get a trap at least. But of course, I'm under Dweller, so definitely a big mishap on my hand. We're gonna use the Keldo, and we're gonna add the Kelbeck. Next, we will just normal the Kelbeck. So I think this is pretty clear. I'm just trying to make a rank 4 play and just Zeus, hopefully. And these are different options. You can of course go into Baguska as well, which cannot be targeted when it's in attack mode. The downside is he does have the Merly, and you know, if he's able to just or rather if I Zeus without Dwellering first, and he gets to trigger a lot of effects right now. And so we're actually gonna bring out Dweller ourselves. We do know he has Select, and if anything, we actually know he has 2 Selects, I believe. So we're actually going to attack over his Merly first, which does have the 500 attack boost, but Dweller is still strong enough to go over it, and he does let that go through. And so now in main 2, we're going to go into Zeus. I forgot, sorry for the random cut. Hovness did hit the field earlier when I used Dweller's effect first, I believe. Sorry, I must have accidentally cut that out. He is going to chain Select, but we do have that Heartbeat in hand to spin that back, which is very, very clutch. And so we're going to also send the Kelbeck from hand to grave. Unfortunately, it's not going to trigger because of the Dweller. And so at least this way, you know, we did Dweller already, so even though the Zeus swipe is usually would trigger everything, he would not. And again, you see, I'm like, why did I activate that Scream? I was very, very wasted there, because it's just going to go to the grave now without triggering, because I'm under Dweller, he's under Dweller as well. But at least I did clear the board, so I don't seem to have much of a play, and I just end turn there. And then Gabe actually also doesn't have anything. I think that was his only card in hand. And so he just passes right away. And so I'm in a much better slate at this point. And so he actually just does scoop here. But yeah, I mean, again, a lot of things to learn. I definitely need to get better at this deck. And I look forward to your comments to help me learn. So let's just go on to game 2. Alright, so moving on to game 2, of course, Gabe's going to take first. In the tier mirror, I think, I mean, obviously, Direwolf definitely helps, but definitely you have a still strong chance even when you go second, whether it's against tiers or other decks. I guess the exception might be like Flender. It can be pretty difficult, especially when they have Shifter. He's going to use Sharon. Apologies, you can't see what he actually pitched off of Sharon. It's a little cut off from the screen. I do have the Magma Nut. Targeting whatever tier monster he used, but he is using Medora and just shuffling back everything actually, so that my Magnemite cannot summon. But unfortunately, he's not able to fusion summon either, at least. Next, he uses talents to look at my hand. My hand is not amazing. I mean, technically, it's good if I didn't get talents, I guess. He does take the planet, which means I have no tier plays left. I know there's a bit of a glare there, but basically, I just have like the Earth Fairies and like the one Magnet. He does have the planet. And then he gets the Merly. He's gonna normal D Merly, gets the Mill 3. Again, apologies, it's a little cut off there. I think that's a Magma Nut, a Hovness, and one card I cannot see, I guess, or maybe that's a Select. So he does have the Select, the tier name, I think that was a Hovness. And so with the Select, he's gonna add a Hovness. And then he's gonna go into the Mud Dragon play again. And because I did he did see my hand, he knows I have the Kelbeck, so I believe that's why he went into Mud Dragon first, because it can provide targeting protection. Next, he's gonna go into the Sprint, which is pretty good in, of course, Sprite, but also very strong in tiers as well. And so now he can get a free Merle fusion and go into Kick Kalos. And again, the Kelbeck cannot target this one. And then now he's going to use the kit effect, get that Rhino, and then the kit will also be able to mill 5. And then the Rhino is nice because it can also get you just like that guaranteed tier name for the fusion, whatever you're missing. And he's also going to hit the Rhino Engrave as well, which can special. It does get banished if it ever leaves the field, but of course if you're using it as a seize material, then it's actually going to still stay and just go to the grave. So definitely make sure to keep track of which one was actually brought back from the grave. He's going to set one which we know probably is the Celic, I think. And then so in draw phase, he's going to again Dweller. And so graveyard effects are gone for me. We do still have that Magnet, of course, that we never got to resolve on the Gabe's turn. And so he is gonna Medora again, shuffle back cards so that I cannot summon that Magnet. So he's gonna target the Merle, the Kit, and I think that's a Celic, and put those back into his deck. We're gonna try the Keldo line now. We do have the Agido that we had in hand. But again, Dweller, so we can't mill 5, and even if we did, in a tier mirror, it would probably help him a lot as well. And so we're going to get a Medora. So you saw my hand earlier because of the talents. No tier plays, unfortunately, so I'm not really in a good position at this point. Next, we will special the Medora by pitching the other Medora. Definitely, I don't play the trap. I think most players don't really play the traps with the Ishizu Tears, I think. I do know in like the Nichiria Ishizu Tears, that's a bit more played because of that Earth synergy. And so at this point, we know he has Celic. So I go into Baguska. Really doesn't matter too much. I mean, Baguska cannot be targeted when it's in attack mode, which is actually really, really nice. And Dove definitely does come up. We're just trying to go for the Zeus sign here. But, like, you know, because his graveyard effects are alive, I don't really think that's the best option. And he also has a Celic, which he was even contemplating not even using. But he does do it and sending off that Rhino. And you know, as because of my hand, I just had no tier play, so I decided to just scoop here and go into game 3. Okay, so the final game 3, and of course we're gonna go first. So yeah, definitely a lot to learn with this deck, as I mentioned repeatedly in this video. So I'm trying my best. And so we're gonna start with the Merle. I remember my hand was really bad. Merle was like the only tier play I had. I think the rest was just, I'm not sure, maybe the Earth Fairies, but he does have the Hobness, and he hits, I think it was like 3 for 3. And meanwhile, I only hit the Earth Fairies, which, if I had other tier options, would have been nice, but unfortunately I don't. So it was a really unfortunate. I do have the orange, so he's trying to Kelbeck bounce. But of course, also his Merle, I believe, was Chainlink 2 actually. So I'm oranging that just because I want to get that Agido engrave, or rather, sorry, Kelbeck to try to mill 5, because I had no other play, I believe. But because he's actually shuffling back that Kelbeck and it doesn't have the chance to trigger, I actually will not be able to mill 5. So those are things definitely to keep in mind of. And I'm sorry guys, I just had no hope there. Really bad play. And he even had a Magnet to boot, and I had that orange. Yeah, so that's something perhaps I need to think about. I mean, I'm not sure what I could have really done differently based on my hand. But yeah, and he starts with the Kelda, and I think at this point I just scoop. Yeah, so there wasn't much hope for me. Definitely a really treat to be able to play against Gabe all the time. Again, really strong player. I mean, he won, you know, Nats for a reason. And so yeah, I learned a lot playing against him, and I hope you guys can also help me out in terms of how to pilot this deck more optimally, and I hope to get better with it over time. So thanks everyone for watching, and take care, and definitely make sure to check out Gabe's YouTube channel, which I will link down below, as well as also Ruggles, and thanks for him for hosting us. So take care everyone.